This year. Woo, we're back, baby!
Hello, and Injure, and welcome to the week number 9 podcast. We are back after, once again, a long hiatus.
Jeez, it's been too long.
A very long hiatus. We have a little bit of a holiday theme here this evening.
This year, save me from tears. I'll give it to someone special.
Interrupted by a little Sports Center text message.
Never interrupt George Michael.
So we have Last Christmas planned. We're bringing the holiday heat here on December the 1st.
December the 1st.
Christmas, the holiday season, everything, it's in the air.
It's in the air. I'm ready to go. I've been ready.
Now, I know you're a big Christmas guy.
Oh, I love Christmas.
First off, we've skipped over a few things to open this thing up.
Yeah.
Brent Mansfield, Eric Zaleski.
You know who we are.
We're back. You should know by now who we are.
I'm taking somebody's seat. We'll get in that in a little while.
Well, we should probably get into it right now.
I don't even know what to say.
Yeah. Well,
I'm new. This is new info to me.
So basically, here's what happened. Many of you have known our ex-co-host here. He had done a great job filling in over the past season and a half. Not just in the hockey podcast, but in the football podcast as well. Of course, I'm referring to Mr. Austin Ravito. A lot of you at this point, if you haven't heard already, may be wondering, where is Austin? Basically, your guess is as good as mine. He almost basically unannounced picked up and moved to Chicago. I was clued in a little bit as to what was going on. There was a couple text messages exchanged back and forth. But more or less the way that I found out was via Snapchat from a U-Haul as he's entering Chicago, Illinois. So a lot of people wondering where the podcasts have been. Ravito has been
There's your answer.
Yeah, he's been back and forth from Chicago. I figure a lot of you out there don't want to hear from me individually. So I've been working on trying to get somebody else to jump in. Brent, you've obviously done one hell of a job.
I enjoy doing
stepping in the past as a guest. And we're very lucky, we're very blessed, we're very happy to have you on board here. And we're going to have you moving forward as much as you can make it out here.
Hey, you know what? I love doing it. I'm blessed to be a part of it as well.
That's very kind of you to say. And I know you made quite the drive out here this evening as well. We are coming to you live 9:52 p.m. currently, Eastern Standard Time. On a Tuesday evening. You just got off your work shift not too long ago.
No, about a little over an hour.
About an hour removed.
Yeah.
And the dedicated co-host that you are, drove out here. We appreciate having you here tonight.
I wouldn't miss it.
We also have in the building.
Are you still in the league? Yeah, you're in the league, but are you in the league?
Technically in the league.
Yeah, yeah, that's right.
We are talking to the owner of the Shaha Panthers, the 0-8 Shaha Panthers. Mr. Colin Fawcett, who's measling his way around the building right now. He's got a little bit of food. Is that Gecko?
It is Gecko.
It's Gecko.
That's a great choice.
The Dinner of Champions.
Dinner of Champions, he's saying. Brent, as you guys just heard, was asking Fawcett if he was still in the league. His response was technically.
When's the last time you put your lineups together?
Probably. I think I said it week 1 and lost, and then just didn't really have a good feeling and quit after that.
And just to give the league kind of a feel for where he's at in fantasy hockey, I tried to get involved with some trade talks with Mr. Fawcett last week, actually around this exact time. And he was not interested in any trade talks. He basically had already removed himself from the league. Would you say this is accurate?
That is accurate. And to be fair to myself also, I initially declined an invitation to this league because I knew this was going to happen going in.
You did.
But I was talked into it just for the fun.
Why do you think you're going to suck from the beginning?
He just knew he was going to...
I know I'm not going to set my lineup.
Yeah, He knew he was going to have a hard time really committing to the league each and every week. And in all fairness, he told me that out of the gate. But we needed a 10th guy for the league. He stepped up. He stepped up. We had a good time here at the draft, and that memory alone...
I did enjoy the draft.
That memory alone was worth
it.
Yeah, it was worth $20 alone. So it was a fun evening. We're so happy to have him as part of this. We might have him chime in here at some point, but right now we'll let him enjoy his dinner. A lot that we have to cover here.
Oh, geez, so much.
Real quickly, jumping back to Austin, I know that there's a way that you could Skype or G-Chat somebody in to...
Oh, yeah.
You could get their face to pop up. For anybody that watches Barstool Sports, a lot
We
like
have
the
technology.
rundown.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So if we can find a way to figure that out, we would love to have Austin back on anytime
absolutely.
he can make it.
Jeez.
I know I'm going to have to also find somebody to try to fill in for a few football podcasts now that we don't have them. But that would be a very useful tool if we could figure out how to set that
Last
up.
time I seen Revito was at our last podcast at
Over
the
at Sharp Edge.
The Sharp Edge. That was what, 6 weeks ago?
Yeah. And the thing is with Austin, there's never a lot of communication. We do wish him the best.
We do, man. We do.
But
don't forget our Bucko game memories.
Well, we're selfishly sad to see him go.
Yeah.
We know he'll be back around for the Christmas holiday, so hopefully we can all get together, film a podcast.
Oh yeah.
And we'll be happy to see him back in the mix. But
go a little pick up lunch going. Pick up a lunch going.
Yes, just like the old days. A little pick up
dinner, whatever,
whatever. Red Robin, simply grilled
absolutely.
chicken sandwich.
Oh.
You really can't beat it. But to Mr.
better.
Revito, thank you for all your service over the past year and a half.
Thank you, sir.
It's been a hell of a run. And not only myself, not only Brent, but the entire league. I speak for the entire league. We're thankful for all that you've done. We'll miss you a lot. And we hope to have you back on sometime soon.
We should get taps playing here.
But taps.
Taps, yeah.
I don't know what that is.
You know, da da da. You know, da 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 da. You know.
I got you.
Yeah.
But moving forward,
we got a job to do now.
Yeah, and I think the real world's kind of hitting hard for all of us. I know I've started up full time now, so these aren't. Revito and I used to do these midday, which was. Looking back on it, I mean, those were really the glory days. Just having a few days off a week where you could really do whatever. Like you said, play pickup, have lunch, film a podcast.
Yeah, I mean, like Tuesday afternoons we're playing pickup, and then we're heading to Red Robin. You know, it's just like they say, you don't know what you have until it's gone.
You're right. And
it's gone. It's freaking gone, and I'm pissed about it.
It's long gone, and the things that I would do to go back. But
a lot.
So before we jump into all the hockey stuff, let's actually, as we're talking about Revito moving. Let's just kind of talk about. I want to cover everybody in this league right now, just to fill everybody in, because I feel a lot of people watch these to kind of catch up. We did have the opportunity over the Thanksgiving break. I had the opportunity, as well as Mr. Fawcett, to get together with some old friends and quite a few people from this league. But just to cover and to fill everybody in on what's going on with each member of the league, and I'm going to try to go through everybody off the top of my head. Obviously, the first three, yourself, Mr. Fawcett, and I, we're all still in Pittsburgh, along with the owner of Madonna Auto Goal 95, John Zaleski. He's still in Pittsburgh as well. So that's 4 of 10. We've touched on Revito. That's 5 of 10.
No, Revito's not currently in Pitts. He's like,
out.
I don't know.
We think he's in Chicago. We think. We can't confirm. I got pictures of the city. That could have been from Google.
Hopefully you're not in Gary, Indiana, or somewhere like that in between.
I
don't know if we'll ever be seeing Revito again if he's there.
Yeah, we'll wait and see. We'll have to follow up on this one. And I don't know how much we've covered in previous podcasts, so I may be repeating myself a little bit. But we do have Robbie Wright, who's currently in Philadelphia working full time.
Cross state.
And he actually, a little side note here. And he would tell you this as well. And you do whatever you can to bring in the big bucks, and he certainly is. He is currently a salesman of a medical device. What medical device, you may ask? That medical device is a penis pump.
Hey, Robbie, I enjoy your tweets. They're funny.
He is a very large presence on social media. He had a hilarious Snapchat he sent over this morning. He was in a suit. He said, "I'm in my suit." He turned it over to his devices. He said, "I'm getting ready to sell some penis pumps. I got my suit. I got my penis pumps."
Hey, you know what? Whatever brings in the money.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, you can't knock him for that. He's doing well out there.
Good for you.
I did get a chance to see him over the Thanksgiving break. We got a nice little lift in with actually a previous owner in this league, Mr. Ben Zaleski, who was back.
How's he doing?
Interesting. To say the least. Interesting. He came back. A little side note about him, Fawcett, if you don't mind yelling over one more time the quote that Ben gave you in regards to his school and what he was a little bit frustrated about while he was down there.
But where's he exactly at?
He's in Florida. He goes to a small school.
Okay.
It's for kids that need more attention. So a lot of people out there probably have never heard of it.
Oh, okay.
My understanding it's 40 minutes. I think he said 40 minutes north of Orlando.
Oh, okay.
So when he comes home, he flies out of the Orlando airport. A school called Beacon.
Really?
Beacon. So he's enjoying himself down there. I'll let Mr. Fawcett take it away here.
Sorry for cutting you off, Fawcett.
Yeah, so I had a moment to catch up with Ben and ask him how he was enjoying his time in school so far. And my favorite quote that he filled me in on was that he's frustrated that he can't sell his meds for a profit because everybody's already on them at the school. So I think that gives you sort of an idea of what sort of environment he's in, and he seems to be doing well, but thought that was an interesting nugget of information about his new classmates.
Yeah, that was an eye-opener, that quote right there.
Having a good time down there.
So it's funny because you see him down there. He's obviously with these kids that need the attention. So he feels like the normal one down there, which is good.
Yeah.
He's kind of coming into his own, building a little bit of confidence. That's good. The fact he can't sell meds, a puzzling statement there. We may have to look a little bit more into that. That's where Ben's at.
Meds.
We still have, and also we might as well touch on Goodnight Jim Kite while we're at it. Talon Stroman, the T-Bird.
The 1-2 punch last year.
Yes, he is still up at Cal U. Per Taylor Cox, and most of you know Taylor out there, Talon has put on about 30 pounds. He looks terrible. He's not.
Maybe not even worse than me.
He doesn't look good. He doesn't look good.
I've never seen him.
He's been hitting the beers hard. That's been the report. That's not surprising. That's about what I had Talon, the T-Bird, on pace for at this point. So that's where they're at, respectively. We miss them a lot. They brought a lot of good entertainment to this league. But moving forward here, so we've got Robbie Philadelphia. We have Mr. Mendelson, as I was talking to you about earlier. He's out in Los Angeles. So he's playing in a whole different ball game out there. You know, we're sitting here, it's 10 p.m. It's 7 p.m. He's just getting off work over there right now. So he's told me that he hasn't had the opportunity to see any Pens games this year because he's at work. Now, I guess he could watch some of these games here.
I figure it's 4 o'clock when the games are starting over there.
Right,
That's weird.
So for him, it's
He'll see one tonight, though, right?
Yeah, that's what I was just saying. So they got a nice little West Coast trip here. Pens are starting at 10.
And they're going to be in L.A. on what, Saturday?
Yeah, he should try to make it down. Yeah. That's right. It'll be a weekend game.
Yeah. It's weird. They're in California, but they play tonight, and they don't play again until Saturday.
You know, I was looking at that.
That's so weird.
That's puzzling. So maybe a little team bonding going on.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Of course, as we always do, we will get a little bit more into the Pens as the podcast goes on. Mr. Kurt Ott, I had the opportunity to run into him at the Penguins game this past Saturday night, Penn Oil. He was very nice enough to stop over in between periods, talk to my brother and I. He's over in, I believe, in Washington, D.C., or right around that area right now. He's doing well. Interesting little fact about him, the Inglorious Bacchus is the team name. I saw he dropped David Bacchus today, so you wonder if that warrants a name change or not.
I mean, you'd think. Maybe he just likes it. I don't know.
Yeah, you might have to roll with it, but we'll see where he decides to go with that. We do have Jacob Boss.
I'll tell you what, Boss. We got some things to talk about here.
And we're going to get into that in just a second. It's nothing surprising for those of you who know Jake Boss. He is out in the Cincinnati area working. So another guy out of town. If you want to take it away at this point, just talking a little bit about your communications with Jake over the past week or two.
I mean, I don't know what to even say anymore. We can go through my phone, the text. We've gone through some serious trade, and you should see some of these trades that this kid has sent over. We're talking, he's sending 6 players over for 7 players. I'm like, these are ridiculous trades.
He's looking to move half his roster.
He is. And I'll give a little bit of insight. With a lot of goalie talk. I've been trying to shuffle up my goalies. He's doing the same. But I mean, geez, I'll tell you what, boss. You ask for. A lot of people say I give bad trades, but I just, you ask for a lot. I mean, a lot.
Well, I'll tell you what. As I was telling you this. With Jake Boss, it's not just trade talks. There's a reason why I've offered everybody in this league a trade except for Jake Boss this year. It goes beyond fantasy hockey. You can't make a plan with the kid because he's going to try to counter. He's going to try to buy an extra half hour so he can sleep. He doesn't want to eat at this place. He'd rather eat at this place at this time because he wants this meal. Nothing's easy with Jake Boss. Again, there's a reason why I don't text him about trades. He's some guys I'd like to trade for, but honestly, it's not worth the hassle. Because nobody in this world is capable of seeing eye to eye with Jake Boss. So my advice to you, save your time, save your energy, save your cell phone data above all else. Save that text message plan because Jake Boss, unless you're willing to give up half your team for essentially nothing, you're not going to get anything done.
I'm not going to say essentially nothing. I mean, I'd get a quality goaltender, and Lundqvist had to get him. But I mean, other than that, like Giroux, Plekanec, and then I just don't know what to say. And I'm not the one in trouble. I'm 6-2. I don't want to brag. I am 6-2. Just for everyone to know, I'm 6-2, second place. So before I get all these trades, I'm not in any pressure. I don't need to throw half my team out the window because I'm doing bad or anything. I'm 6-2, so all the pressure's on you guys trading to me. So make them pretty.
And that is the one nice thing. And for a long time, it was Ravito and I 1-2 in the league as we were doing these podcasts. Only fitting, the next number 2 man steps up. You've had a great start to the year, 6-2. You're a couple games behind me. Of course, I'm 8-0. But that's neither here nor there. We'll get to the standings later. But just jumping over to our final guy, and this guy is in Pittsburgh. I do apologize. The newest member of our league, Mr. Griffin Bergman, the Drunken Pucks. Bergie is doing well as far as I know. A little interesting fact about Bergman, a.k.a. Bergie with an I-E. The last time Mr. Fawcett and I saw Bergman over at the Pens game, he couldn't talk.
He couldn't talk.
He could not speak. And I think there was 2 contributing.
Like he couldn't physically speak?
There were 2 contributing factors to it. One, he had taken a puck off of his mouth the night before. He plays inline hockey, so that roller hockey puck, and he doesn't wear any cage, any visor, whether he's playing ice or roller. I think that's crazy. You have to be out of your mind to do something.
Especially if it's just like pickup or stuff.
And in that kind of skill level, people aren't really in control of their sticks.
Sticks are going up every year.
Right. And so he took a puck off. He had to actually go get stitches. So that was most of the reason he couldn't talk. He also had a few drinks in him. So even whatever he could get out of his mouth, he couldn't understand really what he was saying at all. So that's the update on
combine those two, and you don't have that.
Right? Yeah. Fawcett and I weren't making out many words of Bergman. So that's where we're at as a league right now.
Well, it's good to hear everyone's story.
So now let's jump over to the NHL. Let's just do it. We're going to go through the standings this week. We're going to go through the matchups coming up. We're not going to spend any time recapping the previous matchups to this point.
It's been like 6 weeks.
We've missed so many weeks that we feel that would be a little bit of a waste of time. So we're going to just cover some NHL topics. We're going to cover the standings, this week's matchups, and we're going to have a little bit of fun doing this. So let's get right into it.
Let's do it.
And the first thing I got to tell you before we continue, you got to stop hitting the table.
Sorry, I'm getting.
It's a bad habit.
I'm getting antsy.
You know when you're emphasizing points, you're hitting the table. That's going to come out really loud.
Is it? Oh, I guess the speaker's right there. Yeah.
Right, it is.
I do use all the emotions.
You are a hands-on kind of guy.
Yeah.
But that's one thing.
No table.
We got some rookie jitters.
Right.
We're going to work on it. Other than that, though, we'll jump into it. It's been well documented. You're a big fan of the Montreal Canadiens.
Best team in the world.
And let's start off with who I believe to be the best goalie in the world, Mr. Marc-Andre Fleury.
Oh, come on. That's not even... come on now. I don't even know how anybody can even say any other... if you say Marc-Andre Fleury's the best in the world, I mean, it's just not even a competition anymore who the best goalie in the world is.
No. I'm obviously messing with you a little bit. Fleury's very, very, very good.
I know he's very good. He's having a tremendous season. The Penguins would be in a very bad place it wasn't for Fleury this year.
You're exactly right. But let's start off here talking about the Canadiens.
Okay. All right.
The big news coming out of Montreal.
6 weeks.
At least 6 weeks.
No surgery needed, but I mean, you know what? This is the big thing everyone's talking about. Is Montreal more than just Carey Price? And, for the way they've been playing, keeping up their streak, being number one in the league for basically the whole time, the whole season so far, without the best goalie in the world, it's making a statement. It is really making a statement. They have the most goals per game in the NHL. Yeah, they're averaging like almost 3.5 goals per game.
I didn't know that stat.
Yeah,
that's very impressive.
That's Montreal. That was a problem in the past. They'd have decent goaltenders, but you just couldn't. They couldn't score.
A lot like we're seeing with the Nashville Predators right now.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll get into that a little bit. But
it's almost Canadians score. If this is without Price, even they score 3 goals, they're game over. You got to give a lot of credit to Mikey Condon coming in there. Mike, you ever heard of Mike Condon before this year? No, I never did.
No, I certainly didn't, and I actually
Princeton grad.
I actually had the opportunity to see him live when the Canadians played the Penguins here a few weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
Game went to a shootout. The Penguins won. No surprise there.
Yeah. Right.
But what is
that pissed me off though? Like, why are the Canadians coming like twice within like 3 weeks? Like,
there's a couple situations of that. Like the Penguins played the Stars 2 times, like the first.
Yeah,
games.
yeah.
That's kind of weird.
Yeah, it's stupid
to me. And they're doing it with the Kings here this upcoming week.
Yeah.
So, I don't get that, but
I hate that.
the scheduling is what it is.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask, where did this backup guy? Where did he come from? What's the story on this guy?
Well, he graduated from Princeton University. He was in the ECHL. I think he was with the Nailers actually for a little while.
Really?
Because the Nailers were actually the ECHL team for the Canadians and the Penguins at the same time.
I never
don't
knew
know.
that.
I don't know how that works. I don't know if like some players have a contract with the Penguins and some with the Canadians, and they just, I don't know how that works. Spent time in the ECHL, and then he was with the AHL team last year, the Bulldogs, and then made the team this year.
Yeah, I mean he's been really good. He stepped in. He's done a great job.
Oh, he's done an awesome job.
For them, and I was a little bit surprised. I actually owned him at one point. He was getting picked up, dropped off free agency, and somebody has him for good. I don't know who picked him up recently.
I saw. I don't know if he's still on, but somebody just picked him up or dropped him within the week.
I did see somebody picked him up, and he had.
He's not been dropped yet. Okay. Well, heck, for the next 6 weeks, he's going to be the number one team in the NHL starting goaltender.
Right. Yeah. So it was the Drunken Pucks. Griffin Berger was able to get his paws on him, and not to get sidetracked too much, but speaking of the Drunken Pucks and waiver wire pickups, did you see him drop Chris Letang?
I did see that
a couple weeks ago.
I did see that.
What in the world? And I asked him about it in person that night. We saw him at the Pens game, and he said, Chris hasn't been producing for me. This is a what have you done for me lately business. And he felt that he had to part ways. And a bold move, given the track record of Chris Letang. He was quickly picked up by Kurt Ott. I had a bid on him as well. I don't know. I would imagine anybody that saw that would try to claim him.
Yeah.
Kurt Ott was the lucky. He must have been at the top of the waiver claim, but. An eye-opening transaction there.
It is eye-opening, but can you really blame him with what he's done this year? I mean, it's. I know it's in the name and everything, but
yeah, but okay. Same thing with Fawcett over here. Is Fawcett, is he dropping Crosby? I understand that's another level, but at the same time, Crosby's off to a bad start.
Well,
there's so many guys.
Fawcett's not doing anything. So.
That's true. That's true. If I asked him, I might actually say, yeah, I should.
I should. Yeah, I mean, honestly, you should do what I consider doing. Ask for a couple bucks for some players. You know what I mean? If you want.
Whoa. What's going on?
Remember I tried to do that last year when my team was 1-6 or 0-8 or something.
Did anybody give in?
No. So I manned up.
That's absolute collusion.
What is collusion?
What is this announcing this? There's nothing wrong with it on the podcast.
What?
You're slipping people money under the table. People are slipping you money for your.
I'm not saying I'm going to give them $3 for Jack.
I'm not sure I ever got that offer, and we were in trade talks.
I put it on the website on our league homepage.
I thought this was a little under the table.
No.
So you were half joking.
I mean,
you would have accepted the money.
I would have said yeah. But it was kind of half joking, but if it came down to it, yeah, I'd accept the money. Why wouldn't I?
Well, interesting. And as commissioner, a.k.a. Stalin, as you've wanted.
I know, I didn't say you were Stalin. I said you're
Stalin-esque.
Stalin-esque. All right, so that doesn't mean you're Stalin. It means
basically, that's what that means.
You have tendencies. That is Stalin.
So, moving on here in the NHL, we have the Blackhawks and Wild here on NBC Sports Network up on the TV screen to our right.
It's been pretty good action this third period.
We got a 1-1 game here 10 minutes ago.
It's been good stuff.
You might see us, every now and then look up to our right. That's what we're watching here.
A couple big saves.
Yeah, good game so far. Again, 10 minutes to go, 1-1 hockey game.
Shoot, I'm playing John this week and he has Dubnyk.
One thing that I wanted to talk about, and a guy that I drafted. We've talked about him time and time again in these podcasts. Got him in the second round, 18th overall. I cannot believe this guy dropped as far as he did. We know why he dropped a little bit. We're watching him up on the screen. He now is the in sole possession of the longest point streak by an American-born player, 20 games, including this evening, Mr. Patrick Kane. What can you say about this guy? I mean, it's
an incredible streak.
And give me a second. Give me a second here to try to find this because I did see this earlier today, and it's very interesting. One of the reporters for the Pens was actually tweeting out the odds for the Hart Trophy this year, and they had the top players listed. Patrick Kane was number 1 at 2-1 odds.
2-1. I was about to say it's probably like something ridiculous, like 5-1.
Yeah, I mean,
and then you come out with a 2-1.
The way he's playing right now is unbelievable, and the Blackhawks haven't had the hottest start.
Oh no, they haven't. No.
Correct me if
they're
I'm
actually
wrong.
not. Yeah, they're actually not doing well at all. The Blackhawks.
Um,
Corey Crawford, their goaltending's been bad.
That's always kind of been the thing with him. Okay, so here are the odds to win the Hart Trophy, the MVP. Patrick Kane at 2-1, the odds-on favorite. Jamie Benn at 5-1.
He's having a hell of a year.
Henrik Lundqvist at 6-1. Then we actually progress back up to 5-1 odds with Tyler Seguin.
My boy. What a year he's having. What about Dallas Stars? Jeez, they're good.
So we have Kane, Benn, Seguin, Lundqvist top 4. Then we have a 4-way tie for number 5. Sidney Crosby at 12-1.
I don't know where they get that from.
Alexander Ovechkin at 12-1. Vladimir Tarasenko at 12-1. And Jonathan Tavares at 12-1. And interestingly enough, Evgeny Malkin not in the top 15.
On top 15.
And I'm actually going to take a little screenshot of that as I argue with my cousin's husband, who's better, Crosby or Malkin. This will be kind of a funny thing to send over here because he's pro Malkin, I'm pro Crosby.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, you can't argue that Malkin's been significantly better than Crosby
this year,
and probably last year as well.
Yeah, I'd say that.
But if you're picking one guy to move forward with, I'm pro Crosby, but we don't need to get into that whole debate. That's just kind of funny. She also on here. This is Shelley Anderson, who is a Penguins writer. She has the odds to win. Let's see, the odds to win the Cup. So it looks like the Penguins are now 20-1, tied for the 10th favorite. So they're falling out of it.
Who's number 1? What's the other? Did she put on there?
So this has Caps at 13-2, Stars at 7-1, Rangers at 15-2, and Hawks 9-1.
That was today.
Yes, this was.
I'm a Habs fan. How can you not put them on?
Yeah, I don't know.
How can you not put them on?
Do you think maybe it's just not price is out for 6 weeks? Do you think that maybe that's back? But they've still been good. I know. Yeah. I agree with you. I don't disagree with that.
I just don't understand. And when he gets back, I mean, yeah, he might not be 100% when he first gets back, but that team, the way they're scoring goals, and you have him, I just don't understand. What more do they need to do before people, Even Mike Milbury says the Montreal Canadiens have a chance of winning the Stanley Cup.
Yeah, I mean, at some point...
Mike Milbury, the Boston Bruin lover.
Right, yeah. So when he's saying it, that means something.
Yeah.
And at some point, I think this starts to become a value bet.
Yeah.
Habs will win the Cup. I mean, they've been one of the best teams in the National Hockey League. They've been solid. They've gotten their playoff.
This year, it's just a new level, though. Last couple of years, they still had that struggle of scoring goals, but this year it's a different story.
And again, for them, it's just a matter of getting Carey Price healthy.
Yeah.
You wonder if the injury is going to, because they said it's the same injury that kept them out earlier in the year.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it's the same one. Yeah.
So that's a little bit of a.
They might have rushed him back. He might have rushed back a little too early, and this is what happens if you rush back.
And the good news for them at least is that they do have the backup there. He is playing well, so that at least buys them a little bit of time. Maybe they don't feel like they need to rush him back this time.
That's true.
Around.
Yeah, that's true.
Certainly a loss for hockey that he's not playing right now. And if you're Sam Mendelson, the owner of Carey Price,
that stinks.
And I know Sam's sitting at 4-4, and I've actually talked to him about this. At this point, do you consider shopping him around?
You would have to.
Not only does he have Carey Price, he has Carey Lettinen, who's injured as well. So currently his only goalie is Jake Allen. You're sitting at 4-4. You can get a pretty nice return for Carey Price, even with the understanding
he's going to be
out for 6 to 8 weeks or whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever it's going to be.
I mean, when you're sitting at 4-4, you can go either way. I mean, you don't want to get 2 losses in a row. You're sitting at 4-6, 2-3 losses in a row. You're 4-7. If you get 2 wins in a row, make a trade splash. You're back in it. I mean, he's not out of it. He's 4-4, but
right. And it's a long season. I believe 22 to 23 weeks are the regular season.
So we're not even halfway in yet.
No.
Yeah. So,
but Yeah, for him, it's. Well, I always talk about the importance of having a couple of good goalies.
Yeah.
You get 5 points for a win. That's so valuable. That's
true.
so
Yeah.
valuable. So you at least, I'm surprised he hasn't resorted to at least streaming some goalies and trying to get a few more starts, from the goaltender position there. But if you're him, that's something I know I personally would consider.
Yeah. I would.
Because you can market his value whenever he comes back. And if you can get something nice in return, it's something I would definitely consider.
Mendelson, just please don't try to do a trade with Jake Boss.
Trust me, Mendelson of all people knows that
you'll be sending your whole team away for Scott Darling.
Speaking of trades, you and I have gone back and forth now for quite some time, trying to make a deal happen. We are both very.
I'm still bitter about that trade I made with you last year.
Which one are you referring to?
Taylor Hall
and Louis Eriksson.
Lou Eriksson for Ovechkin. Oh God. I traded you. We traded me Price. I traded you Rene. That was also part of that deal.
Yeah, that was the deal.
That was my downfall.
Yeah, and again, you look back on it, and it turned out one-sided.
Oh,
I can remember that night. I remember where I was. We were sitting in my dad's living room. It was Austin and I, and I was struggling with agreeing to that trade.
I really thought you were going to get the
again, and every time I send over trades, I genuinely have a hard time. Because every guy I have on my roster, they're there for a reason. I see value in every guy.
I agree with you. Shoot, Minnesota scored.
And so I can remember, and I asked him, I said, would you make this trade? And he said, without a doubt, you make the deal. You make the deal. And the confidence and his statement there helped me press accept. But I did hesitate.
He did the right thing.
In hindsight, it was a nice little move for my squad. But
how could I ever trade it?
We have gone back and forth.
Oh no! Oh, we've been some heated trade.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Heated trade.
And we're both very proactive in that regard. We like to shake it up, move it around. Yeah. I'm sitting at 8-0. You're sitting at 6-2. Top 2 teams in the league, and here we are. We want to make moves.
We should be the ones that are staying pat. And we should be seeing you other guys out there. The 4-4 teams. Start shaking it up a bit, guys. Come on.
And again, for anybody who's watching out there who is looking maybe down their lineup and looking in the standings and thinking, I could use a shake-up, both of us are always open to making deals.
Absolutely. I'm not going to just throw my team away just to make a shake-up, though.
That's understandable as well. It's got to be the right deal for both teams, and that's what we always aim to do. But it's going to be a gamble anytime you make a move. But we're both always open. You and I can come to terms with something because I'm sick of looking at the same names.
I know. I am too. I do.
So that's something.
It gives us something to talk about too, like on a podcast or something. It gives us something to talk about.
And outside of, I know I've made 2 or 3 trades this year. Has there been any other trades in the league?
I was just about to say, this has been a really quiet, boring, even not just trade, but acquisitions, add drop. You might see matchup, when was the last time a matchup acquisition was actually made? It's been at least almost, what?
So a very funny text came in from Kurdot. He has no idea that we're filming this right now. Not even a clue, not a hint. He texted me out of nowhere, 10:22, so about 30 seconds ago. Bob Grove should replace Ravito on the podcast.
Well, sorry to tell you, I'm not Bob Grove. I cannot give you these.
I told Ravito. I said we should try to get him to get a little guest spot on, but that would also involve him going back, probably looking into some of these podcasts.
Yeah.
And when you start stacking up the Ravito rants left and right, it's probably not something he's agreeing to. Yeah. So we decided.
I've had a couple,
we decided that we were going to hang back on the invite, but again, and we've talked about it on. I can remember the last podcast we did for this league.
Yeah.
There's been communication between us and Bob Grove, just about how we miss him and how he appreciates us thinking about him and talking about him. We told him we talked about him.
He'll be up at 2 a.m. today, tweeting out ridiculous stats.
He will. The
Penguins are 26-2-1 when it is over 72 degrees in San Diego.
Those are the stats.
When they're playing San Jose on a Tuesday.
Those are the stats. And man, do you miss them. I follow him on Twitter.
Well, it's just typical Penguin move right there. Get rid of all the old good guys and put in these.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And this isn't a rant. This isn't a rant we need to go on again.
No,
because we've been at the forefront of this whole exchange in the Penguins media. I will say that I have listened to the Penguins postgame since we've been over this.
Still the same, or you kind of turned on?
No, it's a little bit better. It's a little bit better. They got, I want to say Steve Colby's involved. I don't know if you know Mr. Colby. Sam Kassan also, and I've been a little hard on him in the past. When those two are going, it's actually not bad. And nobody can live up to Bob Grove, but they've actually done a nice job. Yeah. What really set me off, though, was when Michelle Crecchiolo was doing the intermissions by herself. No help at all. And they have her on after the games, and they ask for her input. And it's a lot of emotion. It's a lot of they couldn't win tonight, but I hope we can get them next time.
So it's like doing a post game for like a peewee team.
Right.
Get them tonight, guys, but we will get them next time.
Yeah, it's like I could have that conversation with my girlfriend. She's like, oh, it's a shame they didn't win, but there's always next game.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, the world's crumbling down. We lost the game. We lost
the damn game in November. Trade everybody.
Right. So So that's where we're at. It's been a little bit better, but it is what it is. Funny text though from Kurt Otten. Funny to get that right now.
That's coincidence. I'm not Bob Grove, by the way.
Yeah, but you're the next best thing.
Yeah, I'm the next.
We're lucky to have you. Kurt also, and I talked to him. We'd love to get him on a podcast when he's back.
Oh yeah, get anybody.
We gotta
over the holidays. We gotta do a I guess kind of defeat the purpose because everyone would just be watching themselves.
That's true. Yeah.
We're
gonna try to sneak in maybe a few podcasts over this couple of weeks.
Well, look at San Jose. We're in the throwback, like '90s.
They got the turquoise.
Look at that.
Jerseys on, little gray there.
Little Patrick Marleau, little 38-year-old guy.
I'll tell you what, this jersey scared me as a Pens fan. Yeah, this could be all San Jose tonight. This jersey.
I don't like this. See, there's something about San Jose.
It's hard to totally buy into what's going on there. A lot like the Pens, I would imagine, looking from the outside in.
Yeah.
It's just there's something off. There's always something off.
They win 58 games in the regular season. They get swept in the first round.
Let's get into a little bit of Pens talk, if you don't mind.
Wow.
Because obviously all of our viewers out there are Pens fans. And I came across something interesting today. This has been common knowledge, I guess, for the past couple of days. There was an article out there by SB Nation, and I don't know if you've heard anything on this. But there was some GIFs, some GIFs, some GIFs, however you say it, of Sidney Crosby and Patrick Hornqvist bickering on the bench, going back and forth, pretty animated. Both sides pretty animated. And then you get the news tonight that Hornqvist is off Crosby's line, and Mr. Chris Kunitz reunites with his old friends, Crosby and Dupuis, and you just wonder what's going on there.
You know what? I'm not surprised by that because we've seen Crosby do this before. We have. I mean, we've seen him. We've seen him with the coach, bickering with the coach.
Yep, Dan Bylsma towards the end of his
and
time.
That's where I think part of the problem is when you have. I'm sorry, Sidney Crosby. Care what he say is good. I'll stick with him. He's a prima donna. He's a little bitch. He is. Okay. When you have him taking over the locker room instead of the coach, it divides. You get problems, and this is where I think a lot of the Penguins' problems come from. I really do.
Yeah, I think there is a little bit of. I mean, you're right. There's a little bit of that going on there. I don't think there's any question about that. He says all the right stuff to the media.
Yeah, anyone can do that.
But at the same, no, not everybody can do that.
That's true.
But we're digressing a little bit here. But you see this go on sometimes on the bench. You want a guy that's into it. You want a guy that's passionate.
Oh, yeah.
But there's a fine line there. And
especially when you're the captain, you have to hold yourself to a certain standard.
Right,
when you're a captain.
And you wonder sometimes if maybe he rubs people the wrong way when he's trying to maybe put out some constructive criticism, whatever the case may be. And again, these didn't have these clips that I saw didn't have any volume. They could, for all I know, because Hornqvist is like doing like something with his hands. Yeah. They could be imitating people and like fucking around.
Yeah.
On the bench. So you have no idea. There literally may be nothing to this.
Oh, there might, yeah.
But the thing that got me was I actually heard that Kunitz was getting moved up tonight to the first line for this game. Then I found out about the Hornqvist thing.
So you put two and two together.
And you're thinking, oh, maybe there is something there. Yeah. So interesting. The Pens coming off a couple of losses. This team has been so streaky this year.
Oh, yeah.
1 week they look like they're world beaters. The next week
You lose to the Edmonton Oilers.
That's probably the best way to put it. You lose to the Edmonton Oilers. Evgeny Malkin has scored the last 3 Penguins goals. I was told today he has
How
7 goals.
about that goal against Edmonton, huh?
And I'm embarrassed to say, and I think Fawcett was with us as well. We were at the game. We were not in our seats for the goal. I watched the replay.
Oh, you didn't even see it.
No. So we were meeting up with everybody there that was back for Thanksgiving. We got to talking a little bit. We got carried away, and then next thing you know, you hear the horn go off, you hear the crowd go crazy. I look on the monitor, and all you see is Malkin's little spinorama back end. And I'm thinking, I cannot believe we missed that goal. Because that's up for goal of the year. And
it was just the play before him, back checking, pickpocketing, center ice, and then coming back and that was a hell of a goal.
Yeah, and he's been very good for the Penguins along with Fleury. But other than that, tough team to figure out.
Nobody stands out. I mean, talk about Crystal Tang struggles. That's huge.
That's there. And Phil Kessel as well. Kind of been quiet over the last maybe half dozen to 10 games.
Yeah, when everyone was freaking out about getting Phil Kessel, it's just something just didn't seem right with Phil Kessel.
Well, let me say this, if you don't mind.
Well, Kessel's had his own personal problems too.
Yeah, sure. And sometimes the change of scenery can do wonders. We've seen this happen.
Sure, coming out of Toronto, he is happy to get out of that city.
But you want to trade Neal in 2013, and then in 2015, the missing piece is a goal scorer who's a winger, so we need to go out and get that again. And it's like...
Well, you just had one.
We had the perfect guy.
Yeah.
Like, the chemistry between Neal and Malkin, you're not going to be able to replicate that. I don't think that you're ever going to find a guy like that again.
Yeah.
So we wanted him out so bad, and then we were so excited to get Kessel back. I don't know.
A little back and forth, we don't.
And I'm not going to pretend to know. I love to analyze this team. I'm not going to pretend to know what the answers are right now because the fact of the matter is I'm not sure. We've talked about the coach in the past. How much of a role does he play in all of this?
Yeah.
The system that he wants the team to play, does it work? Are the players buying in? There's a lot that goes into it, and
we'll never know the answer because we're not part of the team. We're not.
Right. You're right. You're right. I mean,
but it's just back at the trade, the trade of Neal for Spalling. They got Spalling part of it. Spalling was a good third line, even on the Predators was a good solid third liner. And then they got Hornquist, who in Nashville scores 25 goals. If you scored 25 goals when you're on the Predators 3 years ago, I mean, hell.
Yeah, you're thinking this guy can score 50 on the Penguins.
Yeah, right, yeah. And then they get rid of Spalling, and then Hornquist. Hornquist hasn't been bad since he's been in Pittsburgh. I mean,
no, I've actually liked him a lot as a player, but I mean, another guy's off to a slow start this year.
I mean, basically everyone on the Penguins has been off to a slow start for 2 or 3 people.
Right.
So
that's right, and it's tough.
I'll tell you what, Nick Bonino's been having a quietly good year. I think so, anyway.
I think he's had a nice year away from the puck.
Yeah.
Which isn't a joke. I'm not joking. I'm not sure I was promised a little bit of offensive output. I really haven't seen a lick of that. Maybe you've seen something that I missed, but the offense isn't there. Now it's the little things that he does.
Yeah,
in that game against the Oilers, we're killing a penalty late in a tie game. He wins the faceoff in a defensive zone forward and clears the puck out on his own. That's impressive. That's a big play. And he's good. He's a good penalty killer. He's a nice player.
He's had a couple solid goals. I mean, but honestly, that's what you're gonna get out of.
That's the reality of a third line player, I suppose. Yeah, we're not gonna have another Jordan Staal, and I think that's kind of it's not right, but that's kind of become the measuring stick here.
Jordan Staal.
Everybody's who can be that kind of player. And
Staal hasn't. Jordan, he's been awful. Since
I'm sure he'd love to come back. It's never going to work, but
he wanted to play with his brothers and everything.
Right.
And,
and you can understand that.
Yeah.
But as far as his actual career has gone since he's
he's had an awful time in Carolina.
When he's healthy, not good.
That whole team's been.
And he's been banged up as well. He's had a rough stretch of injuries.
Yeah.
Anything else we want to touch on as far as the NHL goes? We will get in, again, as I've mentioned earlier.
We should do a little quarter of the season awards.
Yeah, we can do that.
MVP.
We can do that.
Kind of off the top of our heads, but I have a couple I'd like to get out there.
Well, why don't we do, if you can think of maybe Because we're going to get the same answers if we do
I
MVP.
know.
You're going to say Sagan because he's on your team. I'm going to say Kane because he's on my team. And if we asked Austin, he would say Jamie Benn because he's on his team.
Yeah,
Jake Boss would say Henrik Lundqvist because he's on his team. Robbie Wright would say Ovechkin. Fawcett would say Crosby. We can go on and on and on here. Okay?
Fawcett say, I don't know that because I don't know
we can go on and on here. But let's talk maybe about some of the unsung heroes, maybe a surprise or two.
Yeah.
I nothing comes to the top of my head. I will begin to think about it here in a second. Do you have anything that comes to mind as far as?
I know
you've been high on the Coyotes this year. We actually have a $100 wager.
We do. A little Florida Panthers this year. I'm going with the Coyotes this year.
Yes. So of course it was well documented last season that you were a big believer in the Florida Panthers. We had a little bit of money on that. They came up just short, but admittedly, they gave me a big scare.
Yeah.
In March, I'm watching Florida Panther games on.
That's what I'm doing too. I'm like into these games, like Florida Panther, like Buffalo Sabre game in March.
Right, and that's a dark place to be. When I got into that wager, that's not a place I anticipated being, but there I was in March.
I think it was like one night, like it was like they're playing on the West Coast against. It might have been like the Coyotes, like a Panther Coyote game. I'm sitting like on my Game Center tablet on my tablet in my bed, like intent. I'm like it's like 1 o'clock in the morning, and I'm watching Panther Coyote. I'm into the game too. I'm like, oh come on.
Yeah,
gotta
score.
You know what I mean? Like I'm like, oh my, what am I doing right now?
So that's where we are this year, except instead of the Panthers, it's the Coyotes. You're a big believer. They do have some nice young talent.
They do.
Really a lot like the Panthers last year in that they have the young talent. They have the veteran netminder. Last year it was Luongo. This year it's Mike Smith. A lot of the same makeup there, and they've gotten off to a nice little start. Last time we looked, and we do have a funny story to parlay this into, the Coyotes were beating the Nashville Predators tonight, and I'm going to jump into my story real quick. We've talked about Jake Boss this evening. Jake Boss and I, a lot like you and I do, we'll send just random bets back and forth to each other. And I sent him, my intentions were tonight to put a bet in on the Nashville Predators. Just a small wager, just a little bit of fun, have a game to watch this evening. And they're hosting the Arizona Coyotes. Game starts at 8 o'clock. I had full intentions of putting this wager in. I was kind of waiting to see how the 7 o'clock games went before I committed to how much I wanted to go. I go over to my mom's house for dinner, which was lovely. Some Mexican food.
Very nice.
Lovely. We got to talking a little bit, catching up, and I got carried away. I look at my phone. I see it's 8:20. Forgot to put that bet in with Boss. So I text Jake. I said, Jake, will you take a Predators bet?
Will you take a Predators?
We're 10 minutes into the game. It's 0-0. The Predators are big favorites. So for you, that's an advantage because they're scoreless through the first 10 minutes. We now have a 50-minute game, and I'm taking the line from the start of the game. I tried to explain that to him a little bit. Didn't really expect him to dive in.
Are you surprised?
And I'm not knocking him for declining taking it because I probably would have done the same thing. It's one thing if it is a minute or two into the game to be that deep into it. I can understand just saying, you know what, we'll catch up next time. But so now I was gonna bet the Predators. Now I'm pulling for the Coyotes, and then so I could text Jake later and be like, you passed up on whatever the amount was that I was gonna lose. So we'll actually grab a quick update there.
Let's do it.
Just out of curiosity, we'll go around the NHL.
Let's do it right now. Yeah,
we'll just go through some scores here. So we do have this game up to our right.
2-1, 19.9 seconds left. Minnesota's up 2-1 on Chicago.
And oh no, Nashville rallies.
Habs win. No way. You serious?
5-2, and there's the offense we were looking for to Nashville.
No, are you serious? Oh shit. Forsberg with a
couple of goals, and then of course
James Neal with like the empty net with like 1.3 seconds.
That's James Neal. That's depressing to see. So the Predators victorious over the Coyotes 5-2. Panthers victorious over the Blues 3-1. Red Wings rally to win in a shootout over Buffalo 5-4. Ottawa loses to Philadelphia 4-2. Philadelphia not winning a lot of games this year. Montreal, you had mentioned, victorious.
Ole, Habs win once again.
2-1.
Another 2-1 game.
Classic Habs win right
there. That's classic Habs win 2-1.
And another 2-1 game, Colorado over New Jersey. We also have Dallas currently up 3-0 on Calgary. We'll see if Sagan has any points. Actually held off the score sheet so far tonight.
Sagan, you don't see that. You don't see that too often.
Which is a rarity.
It is.
So that's unfortunate. So
yeah,
I was hoping take a few bucks off the boss man tonight. I guess I'll have to wait to see another day. But
he's a killer.
It is what it is. So back to kind of the unsung hero talk a little bit here. We're nearing the 50-minute mark. Let's try to cut this at an hour. We're going to go over the standings here briefly.
Yeah.
Speaking of the Dallas Stars, I mean, talk about what a start they've had.
That offense, my gosh.
And correct me if I'm wrong, they were pretty mediocre last year. They could score
they were
goals.
mediocre, yeah.
They could score goals with the best of them.
Kari Lehtinen, Kari Lehtinen just wasn't cutting it, in the net. They went out and they got Niemi.
That's right. They went
out and got Niemi, and he's been great.
He's been solid.
Actually, Niemi and Lettinen's been splitting time, and I guess Lettinen's been doing well as well.
Yeah, but he is hurt. He is hurt, as I mentioned earlier. So,
yeah.
It's been all Niemi, and they've been awesome. They're 19-5.
Yeah, they're up there.
Good enough for the second best record in the National Hockey League.
Behind who?
The Montreal Canadiens at 19-4-3, and they're already at 41 points. Your Habs. Right. They are off and rolling.
Without Carey Price.
Without
the best goalie in the world.
I'm looking at Anaheim here. They're only 9-11-5, so 9 wins, 16
losses. That's the most disappointing start of the year.
That's the opposite of the unsung hero. That's the surprise. That's a surprise in a different way.
Honestly, I'd put them, and then I'd put Colorado up there as well. They're bad this year.
Colorado is bad. Only 10 wins so far in the year. They're last in the Central Division, which is a very tough division, might I add. Dallas, St. Louis, Chicago, Nashville, Minnesota, Winnipeg, Colorado.
Whoa, that's tough company.
That's the best, and that's got to be the best division in hockey. Would you agree?
I would. I mean, go through any other division.
Yeah, I mean it is.
Yeah.
Let's make no bones about it. It's the Central
Metropolitan. Division. No, that's not really. They kind of.
Rangers, Caps, Islanders, Pens.
You got your same teams.
Yeah, it's always.
Look at New Jersey hanging in there though. They're a scary team, New Jersey. I'll tell you the unsung hero as far as just Corey Schneider. He's a great goalie.
He is.
He's a really good goalie, and he's just on teams that I don't know. But the New Jersey's not bad this year.
The interesting thing about Schneider is he sat behind Brodeur there for a year when he first moved over there.
He did.
And
he did.
It's kind of interesting.
And then he sat behind Luongo in Vancouver.
So to speak.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Right. So now he's finally kind of getting.
Figure he didn't get his first. I mean, how old is he? I think he's like 29, 30. So he didn't really get his starting gig until his late 20s.
Yeah, I could probably pull him up here pretty quickly just to see how old he is.
I think he's a really unsung, a really goalie that goes under the radar.
He's 29 years old.
29 years old. And he first time starting was 2 years ago. So he didn't get his starting gig till 27 years old.
Yeah. So Rajan Shira working a little magic over there in New Jersey.
There you go.
So, yeah, they've been a nice surprise hanging around this year.
I don't think it's going to last, though.
Tampa Bay off to a disappointing start, 11-11-3. I know they have a lot of injury problems right now.
Yeah.
I expect them to rebound.
Yeah, they have a quality team. They're all healthy.
And last thing here, I'm a little bit surprised that Detroit is off and rolling as good as they are. 13-8-4, good enough for 30 points. And wow, the Habs have an 11-point lead on that.
In the next.
That's remarkable. But Detroit, I'm impressed. I thought maybe they lose Babcock. A lot of those
Babcock's like, what the hell did I just do?
Right, those core guys are getting older and older. Zetterberg, Datsuk, you can go down the list of names there. They continue to play.
That's been the Red Wings for the past 25 years.
That's right. Every year I've been waiting for this decline.
I've been laughing about it for 10 years now. It's these guys are so old. Like when Lidstrom was there and Holmstrom and Franzen and even when Chelios was still on the team. These guys are so old. They're not gonna. They're back in the playoffs the year after. They're gonna make it again this year. And the funny thing is, they actually have some young guys on the team this year.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, that Dylan Larkin, he's a good young player.
And Justin Abdelkader.
Abdelkader, he's good.
Coming to his own a little bit.
They have a good young goaltender, Mrazek. It's
interesting. It's an interesting dynamic over there in Detroit. A little bit different than we've seen in years past.
Where it's just the veterans. The average age on the Red Wings is like 43.
Not kidding. We mentioned Mike Babcock, of course. He's in Toronto now. They're off to a not-so-good start, but this was expected. He mentioned this week when he came there.
Good for that goalie last night, that Garrett Sparks.
I saw that shutout. Was that his first game?
You see him get he cried at the post game.
He got emotional.
Yeah, he did.
He was a little emotional.
The lady was like, you are the first ever Maple Leafs goalie to get a shutout in his debut, in your debut. She's like, did you know that? And he's like, like started crying and like she's like, all right, we'll let you go. It's like
That's
way to put the guy on the spot.
that's pretty cool.
No, it is
That's
cool. Yeah, good for him.
So I just got a text from the Madonna Auto 95 owner. Everybody seems to be texting in the middle of this. It's funny because it all applies. Saying, why is Hornquist on the third line? LOL. I said, search SB Nation Crosby Hornquist. He said, oh God, Sid is involved. LOL.
Of course he's involved.
Yeah, so it's funny that these texts are coming across. So let's go ahead. We're going to jump into the standings and then this week's matchups. And we can kind of talk a little bit about, each team if there's anything that needs to be said.
Yeah, let's see if we have, anything pops out.
So the number one team, flawless, perfection.
Yeah.
Cocky. Undefeated. They went 20-3 last year. They lost the most important game of the year, so it's all for naught. 8-0 this year. That math puts me at 28-3 over the first year and year and a half of this. Not a bad record. Talking's book service.
Yeah, it's nothing to show for it though. So we'll see.
You're absolutely right. Nobody's more critical than I am about that. We lost the big game. We were injured. We were heavily injured in that championship game. I'm not going to make excuses, but we were injured. Aramis, Ramirez, Aram. We've been over this. The new Pirates' names.
But I don't want to, if I win that week, I don't want to change my name because I think it's
You think it's good luck?
And because the week I changed it, I was playing you, and I lost.
Buddy. Let's not start with, the name would have made a difference.
Yeah, it would have.
Please. I mean, you almost got doubled up.
I did almost get doubled up.
And if Zach Parise was involved, that would have gotten ugly. I was playing a man down.
Oh, it's actually 29 there. Their Roots doing the Pens game.
Root is doing the Pens game, so we're going to flip over here in just a second.
But
you have been doing this continuously.
Honestly, though, if you talk about your record, the past 28-3, last year what did I start last year? 1-7?
Yeah, and you rallied.
I rallied. I was, 12-5 my last, whatever. I had a really good record going,
Perfect timing. They dropped the puck.
There you go.
12. No, you're right. Yeah, you're right.
I did. And then to add on to this, 6-2 streak, after my little, thing, I've been a pretty good fantasy.
You're getting the hang of this thing.
I am.
Maybe
I'm dangerous.
Is you ready?
I'm freaking dangerous. So look after me.
Is he ready to play with the big boys like Mendelson or
Mendelson? I just beat. Oh yeah, Mendelson. Change that name, dude. You're 4-4. Don't be calling yourself the champ when you're 500, buddy.
Hey, he is the defending champ. I stand by that name.
I was giving Ravito a little hard time about my win against him last week.
As you should. That's the reason why we do this.
Yeah.
You heard from me. Actually, this is great that we're bringing this up. You and I had a $20 wager. Okay. And I wanted to follow up here because I thought we had a deal in place. We had a $20 wager on our matchup.
Do you want the money now in front of the webcam? Or
I do not want the money now. Do you remember what I told you to do with that money?
Yeah, I don't remember what you told me to do. I'm not gonna.
I told him to put it towards a therapy session for the ass whooping that he got handed to him. Because I knew mentally he was in a dark place.
I was on the point of brink of suicide.
Yeah, you were banged up about it. I mean, you were very confident coming into the week. I didn't really have the heart to tell you. I didn't want to bet any more than 20.
I had the heart to tell me, you knew you were just gonna,
I didn't want to put you out.
Truck over.
I didn't want to put you out, but let me just say this. I think I checked the score on Monday, and that was about it. I knew, there was really no question.
No, bull crap. You were watching every day of the week.
But nonetheless,
we're still 1-2 in the league.
I do want proof of the therapy session whenever you do get it.
Well, I'm not good though. I don't need a therapist.
Just to know
I'll give you your $20.
I want to know that my money went to a good place. Because that money needs to be spent that way.
It went to a bottle of Belvedere. Does that make you happy?
Well, that is a coping mechanism. All I know is you're laughing and you're joking and all is good. All is good. But let me just say, you were pretty banged up after that loss.
I was banged up. Come on.
Everybody has a plan.
And guess what?
Everybody has a plan to get punched in the mouth. And so maybe that woke you up a little bit. Your 6-2 record's cute. Just know when you're playing the big dog, you're 0-1.
Oh my God! I can't wait till I play you next, and my team just creams you.
I'll be looking for it. I'll be counting down the days.
Oh my gosh.
In third place, we have Inglorious Bacchus, Kurt Ott. He's at 5-3 on the year. Again, we talked. Is he going to change his name? I'm not sure.
I would like to pull up some of these 5-3 rosters. I want to see what I can.
So
I can't really make up a team. 5-3, 4-4. What do you?
So Kurt is in sole possession of third place. You're in sole possession of second place.
Yeah.
We have 3 teams with 4 wins and another 3 teams with 3 wins. And then we have the outliers, which we've already covered. But Kurt is standing in third at 5-3 on the year. He has Vladimir Tarasenko for my money.
That's who it was. He dropped Dylan Larkin. And he picked him up like a day later. And I meant to put in. I think my waiver spot was 9th or something.
It wasn't
I would
looking
never
good
gone,
anyway.
no.
Yeah.
But yeah, you have Dylan Larkin.
Yeah, I mean, so he's Vladimir Tarasenko, for my money, maybe the most skilled player in the NHL.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
so good and so young. He's only getting better.
Spezza.
We mentioned he picked up Letang. He has Eric Carlson as well. Not a bad couple of defensemen there.
No.
You mentioned Jason Spezza. What a year he's had, as well as 4.3 points this evening, still with a period to go at Calgary.
He got that young Ekman Larson too.
I mean, it's a nice little team he's got. He has our boy, Corey Schneider. We're giving him a little bit of praise.
We do.
Brian Elliott. Brandon Holtby, who starts 70 games a year. That's not a bad guy.
No, I know. Yeah. Actually, I think me and him were a little... speaking of, the Penguins are up 1-0.
I believe it was Philip Kessel. They're zooming in on
There he
him.
is, Phil the Thrill.
Here we go. It's funny. And I don't know. I mean, it has to be the case. Every time I complain about a player...
He does well.
They respond that evening. It was Bo Bennett. It was David Perron in a game against Minnesota.
You want to hear a funny story? I had David Perron on my fantasy team.
and who was the man that stepped up and told you, this guy shouldn't be on? Just come on.
It was you. It was me.
Trust me, I've seen enough of David Perron. He plays.
But the dude has a lot of talent, though.
And I always have said this, and I think I said it at the time. If the NHL, they have a skills competition, David Perron should be first in line for the skills competition.
Yeah.
And that's why he's the first shooter for the Penguins in the shootout. Because everybody sees this. Everybody sees the talent.
Yeah.
When you add contact and you have to add a little bit up here in between the ears to the game, forget about it.
So you say he's assisting, he's not very smart.
And I think this is a Dave Brown quote for those of you who know Dave, which was cited by Austin Revito on a previous podcast. When you're a first, was he a first overall pick or was he a first round pick? I think he was a first round pick.
He's first round pick, yeah.
And you're still young and you've been moved between a few different teams. There's something wrong there.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So
obviously you're not a great team guy.
Yeah.
You know?
Or it's just, people see the skill, they're enamored with the skill, but does it translate?
Yeah.
Hasn't really, at least in Pittsburgh.
No, I mean, they figure he was in Edmonton. He started out in Edmonton. No, he didn't. He started out in St. Louis. I'm sorry, St. Louis.
Right.
Yeah, St. Louis. He's been around. That's right. And then you got, and then he went to Edmonton, and that didn't last long.
No.
No.
And you wonder how much longer he's going to last in Pittsburgh because I did hear they were trying to shop him around. But you're paying him a pretty penny.
I know he's not. He's not. Yeah, it's not like he's making the $500,000. He's making a couple.
Yeah. So that's a hard guy to move based off of his resume so far in the National Hockey League. We're going to keep it moving here as we're now over an hour on the podcast. Jumping down to the fourth place team, the King of Quarter Zips. He is one of 3 teams, and this is Austin Revito. One of 3 teams at 4-4 through 8 games.
Got the dog pound in there.
Austin, a guy that's been big on name changes over the years, hasn't changed his name yet.
I don't think he's been as active this year as he.
Well, you know what? Yeah, he's obviously been busy. Been busy. You can actually see the transaction numbers, like who has made the most, and
he's not up there, is he?
We can take a look, but the one guy that is surprising, and we'll get to his team here shortly, Madonna Water Goal 95, Johnny Zaleski. I think he leads the league.
Does he?
In transactions.
Yeah.
Which is encouraging.
Good for him. Yeah, good for him.
Because I think that part of the problem that we run into here at hockey, and there's a handful of guys here that can attest to this, is that fantasy hockey is starting right in the meat of the fantasy football season.
Yeah.
And for fantasy football, odds are you're playing for a lot more money. There's a lot more at stake. You're going to give your attention to fantasy football until that season's over, and then a lot of people will tend to shift over to fantasy hockey.
Yeah, but the problem with that is Yeah, it does, start at the time, but if you don't put any attention to your fantasy hockey, you put yourself in a big hole.
By the time you get to the end of the football season, you're more or less out of the race in hockey.
Right, yeah.
And that's why I say not that I would know because I haven't won one. But I know Sam Mendelson doesn't play fantasy football. Championships are won when nobody's watching.
Oh, yeah.
And when you have a handful of teams kind of not paying attention through the first 10, 12 weeks of the year.
You put yourself in a hole.
And you get off to a good start because you're giving it some attention. You put yourself in a very good position moving forward. The reason I've been able to put so much attention into fantasy hockey this year is that all of my fantasy football teams are terrible. And
so you packed it in.
I've been telling people it's not bad when you're transitioning over to fantasy hockey at this time of the year, but at least my team's succeeding. So it's a little something to hang the proverbial hat on.
Yeah.
And I'll take what I can
Even
get.
it out a little bit, Got to keep it going, though.
Right. So the second team with a 4-4 record, 5th overall, is the Drunken Pucks. We've talked a lot about them. Bergie, we made a trade, and I don't think we've had a podcast since. Bergie and I made the deal. I received Evgeny Malkin out of Pittsburgh.
I gave you a little harp on that.
And Griffin Bergman received Jonathan Taves and Brent Seabrook, both from the Chicago Blackhawks. I can speak to it in a second, but before I get into it, what did you think about that deal?
Are you sure it was only Seabrook and Taves for Malkin? I swear it was somebody else.
No, that's what the deal was.
You sure? You're positive? Like 100%?
I made the deal.
Well, I mean, I don't know. Malkin's been pretty damn good recently.
He's been good. Here's one thing, though, and I was trying to shop Brent Seabrook around.
He's not it. Yeah, you've tried to give him. Yeah. He's not having that good of a year.
Everybody. Oh no, he's having a massive year. This is where you're wrong. This is where you're wrong.
I don't think. No. See, this is what you do. You try to brainwash these people into thinking like he's like the Nazi regime, like brainwashing the Germans into thinking that Hitler is actually a good guy. And like in the Soviet Union, like Stalin, like back to my boy Stalin. And like this, you're doing the right thing. It's.
Read those stats out loud, please.
Bullshit.
All right,
it's not having a massive year. Okay, man, having a good.
Do you know how good when defensive points count for more than?
Okay, let's go to Jonathan Taves then.
Listen. we're gonna get to. We'll cover this trade real quickly. Let me talk about Brent Seabrook because I was going to be very honest for a second there, and then you went on your little rant, and you're not giving me an opportunity here to explain the deal. So we have Brent Seabrook. You said he's not been off to a good year. That's totally inaccurate. That's almost embarrassing that you said that.
Okay, maybe at the time when you tried giving him off to me.
That was at his peak.
Come on.
Listen, I'm going to explain why. Let me explain.
All right, explain.
Duncan Keith was injured through the whole first part of the season. So Brent Seabrook was getting reps on the first power play unit. He was getting all of Keith's ice time because Keith there is clearly the number one. Seabrook plays on that second pairing, second power play, all that, right?
Yeah.
So Seabrook was off to a blazing hot start, and I'm thinking, wow, this has turned out really well. I was able to pick up Keith because somebody dropped him when he got injured, and I said, well, I might as well shop Seabrook now that Keith's coming back. No reason to have both of them, and I believe Keith's the better player. He's going to have the more opportunity, so let me sell Seabrook high. Seabrook has 5 goals, 14 assists, and is +3 through 24 games, and it kills me to scroll through and see that he is still producing after I let him go. Because I was hoping this production would drop off, and it still may. But if you look at his recent games here, I guess his last 2, including tonight, he hasn't done anything. But he had... So on November 25th... You see my point now? Listen, November 25th, he had a goal. It was a +2 and had a shot on net, obviously. And the game after 11/27, which was just 4 days ago, had 3 assists, was a +1 with a shot on goal. Those are big numbers for a defenseman. Those numbers can win you a week. I'm not joking around. In a league where it's tight and competitive, those numbers can win you a week. It was hard to see Seabrook 3 times on that score sheet. And Taves was getting the goals.
How do you think I felt when I saw Ovechkin every scorecard last year when I traded him away?
That's the tough end of the deals. Now, Evgeny Malkin's been very good for me.
It's like February. It's like Ovechkin's scored his 453rd of the year. It's like, shit, shut the fuck up. Oh, sorry.
So Jonathan Taves this year, and again, he's a little more of a name than he is a fantasy producer.
Yeah. He's not having that great.
And everybody knows that. 24 games, he's 8 goals, 7 assists, and is a +5, has 57 shots. Nothing over the top, but that's a nice, consistent,
Solid, I
steady.
guess solid.
Yeah, it's a solid, and you know that's what you're getting out of Jonathan Taves. So all in all, the deal itself, I think, was a very fair deal. I don't think that we'll know probably to the end of the year who really wins the deal.
Yeah.
Because Malkin's been really good since, but we've seen him throughout his career. He seems to be a streaky player.
That's true.
So,
yeah.
I mean, we're due here for a game or a series where he goes 6 games with like 2 shots on goal and no points. So that's the one thing, and with those Chicago guys, you're going to be consistent, especially with Jonathan Taves. So all in all, I thought that was a pretty good deal. But Berge sitting at 4-4. Jumping down to the 6th spot, the champ, Sam Mendelson, 4-4 as well. We talked a little bit about his team, Carey Price, his goaltending issues. He has some nice forwards up front. We'll see if he opts to make a move here to try to get some goaltending depth.
Got to do something here at 500.
I know he had mentioned that his defense was a little bit weak, and he was looking for a defender as well. But he's got some big forwards and a couple of Sharks going here tonight, and Joe Pavelski and Joe Thornton. A couple of Jumbo
Big
Joes.
Jumbo Joes. Big Joe, Little Joe.
I'll tell you what, as far as fantasy goes, San Jose players, I mean, those are the guys to have.
I'll tell you what, Brent Burns. I have Brent Burns.
What a monster that guy is.
Oh, my gosh.
I mean, are you kidding me?
He's awesome. I love him.
Yeah, he's very
You know who's a
very
good player, too? Is Joel Ward. I have him on my fantasy team. He's off to a good
these
start.
Sharks, it's like it's amazing they ever lose because they score 15 goals a game.
I know, but come playoff time, I mean, who cares? It's fantasy playoff time. But,
right.
I mean, they won't do a shit.
Yeah. He also has Philippe Forsberg, who has 12 fantasy points tonight, a couple goals. We've mentioned that
I think
earlier.
he was off to a weak start, though.
He was. I did look at his stats. But a good young player who's going to figure it out. He is Patrick Sharp. We've talked a lot about Dallas. He's weak, again, as we mentioned, at defense, and his goaltending's a bit of an issue right now. Jake Allen's his only guy.
And he's at minus 1.8 tonight.
And interestingly enough, Mendelson didn't set his lineup there. He kept the 2 goalies in who were on IR. He didn't start Jake Allen, who was the only starter. It turned out to be a good move. He lost nearly 2.
He has my boy Del Weiss. And you tell you what, let me get to Del Weiss. I know Ravito always makes fun of me when I talk about Del Weiss. I'll tell you what. Look at Del Weiss. Pull up Del Weiss' stats.
All right, but we got to keep this moving here.
We got to keep, but I need to make a point. I need to make a point.
That's fair. Here's Dale Weiss. Season stats.
Look at that. Third is supposed to be a third-line player. All right, 9 goals, 5 assists, a +7, 54 shots, 15 points for 25 in 25 games. I'll tell you, Del Weiss is a hell of a guy to have on the team.
I mean, it's 14 points, but
14 points. Yeah. We'll give him 15 just for the hell of it. But he's a heck of a player to have on a hockey team. I love meeting some Del Weiss.
Jumping down to Madonna Watergold 95, who's gotten a lot of love on this podcast, a lot of talk. He's sitting down in the 7 hole at 3 and 5. Real quickly, we're going to run through these. Also at 3 and 5, Yager's Peanut Butter Robbie Wright.
I love him.
Sitting in the 9 hole, Blake Wheeler, Jacob Boss at 3 and 5. You'd mentioned you were in some trade talks with him, Jake. 3 and 5. I know the season's still pretty.
That's what I keep trying to tell him. Like the pressure's like he keeps like, I'm 6 and 2, boss. You're 3 and 5. I mean, come on now.
At some point,
I'm not gonna give you Giroux. I'm not gonna give you Sagan. I'm not gonna for friggin' Scott Darling. You know what I mean? Like
Scott Darling.
Let's go here.
Was he seriously involved in the trade talks?
Well, I was gonna give up. He's shopping Hank Lundqvist. I can tell you that right now. Well, this is the little fantasy trade rumor section of the podcast.
Little rumors going around. That's fair.
He's shopping Hank Lundqvist, and he was trying to. And I wanted Hank because my goaltender's in there. I got quick though, so that they've been playing really well.
So I was leaders, the Kings.
Yeah, they've been playing really well. I wanted Hank Lundqvist, and he was really. This was like 2 weeks ago now, but he's really been. He wanted quick. He wanted both of my goalies, and he was going to give me Scott Darling. And I was like, dude, Scott Darling plays like once every 8 games.
Why is he even rostered?
I don't even know why he is Scott Darling, honestly.
That's interesting.
So I was going to give him Ryan Miller, which is, but still, he's still getting a starting goaltender, and I'm getting Lundqvist, one of the best goalies in the game, but I'm only getting one. I'm only going to have one starting goalie. You know what I mean? And he just didn't.
No, he's not going to grasp that. Absolutely not.
And even just up forward, like I could see maybe. All right, he thinks because he's giving me Lundqvist that I'm getting the better deal in goaltending, but in reality, I'm not because he's still getting Jonathan Quick, which isn't a bad, guy, and he's still getting Ryan Miller. Okay, yeah, but it's still, and I'm only getting one goaltender in return, basically one starting goaltender, and then up top he's asking me for like Burns and McDonough for like Anton Strawman, like. Come on, boss.
We've been over this with boss. It's just not worth it. We got to wrap it up here.
All right.
We've already mentioned it tonight. Sitting in the cellar, in the basement, Mr. Colin Fawcett, Shaw Panthers 0-8.
If somebody loses the Fawcett this year,
don't expect to win anytime soon. If you lose the Fawcett, though, there should be some punishment.
There has to be something.
Like you might have to refund his buy-in.
yeah, honestly.
So real quickly, we're going to jump over to the Week 9 matchups. It is Talkett's Book Service versus the Inglorious Bacchus. Talkett's Book Service recently shooting up in points.
Jeez.
What else is new? Yeah, they're the current week high.
Don't give me my score.
We have the King of Quarter Zips versus the Champ. The Otters Peanut Butter versus the Drunken Pucks. Madonna Goal 95 versus Aramis Ramirez A-Ram.
Oh.
You audibly don't want me to mention that score, and for good reason. And
I'll be back. Don't worry.
The sixth and final matchup of the week: Blake Wheelher versus the Shaha Panthers.
Fawcett's getting his ass.
Fawcett's well on his way to his 9th consecutive loss of the season, living up to his name, the Shaha Panthers.
That might be giving the. That might be. He might need the Shaha Panthers. Might be a little. I might give him a Shaha Panthers. Bad. I know.
That might be high price. Any concluding thoughts before we sign off here? I know we took this a little bit longer than we had intended.
We said we had a lot to talk about.
Yeah, we've been off now for 3-4 weeks. So
it's been like 6.
Has it been that many?
Last podcast was week 3.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So I didn't realize it was that long. So it's been 6 weeks. There was a lot we needed to catch up on. As we move forward here, the target goal is always an hour max. Because we know that it's a lot to listen to, but we hope that you guys out there listening to this are enjoying it. As I always
everyone
say,
around the country is.
As I always say, and we should lead it off this way because it's no point in saying it at this point of the podcast. But for future reference, if you're driving around, you have a long commute to work. Jake, I know you were complaining about your commute to work. Plug your phone in. Listen to it as you drive. Listen to it when you're in the shower or you're cleaning around the house. There's many times you can just listen to it. You don't need to sit and look at our faces. You don't want to look at our faces.
You don't, especially the guy over here. You don't want to look over here.
You don't want to look. So just listen, plug it in, listen. Help it pass the time a little bit, and we hope that you guys are enjoying it out there. We're gonna do our best to continue to bring this to you.
Hey,
as many weeks as possible.
I enjoy doing it. I guess with your former co-hosts in the Midwest right now.
Yeah.
I'd be happy to fill in. Hopefully I hear some good reviews.
Right,
and
like I said, we're gonna look into the technology to maybe Skype him in, GChat him in, whatever.
We can even do that with anybody, honestly.
Right,
maybe.
Yeah, and if we can figure out that technology,
honestly,
we can work on.
Awesome that'd be to get somebody get your face in there.
Instead of having to talk to them over the phone and just putting the audio up.
Yeah,
that's one thing we haven't done. In both.
Damn it, we have technology. It's the 21st century.
You're right.
Let's use it.
And in both podcasts this year, I haven't been able to bring on too many guests, which is a highlight of every podcast. So we really, and I've said this before, I didn't foresee Revita leaving, but we are going to try to keep up with this weekly. Anytime, it's up to Brent.
No, I'm in.
And it's, you seem dedicated. You did an awesome job on the podcast here.
Thanks.
Again, I've said it. We're lucky to have you. We're happy to have you.
I'm happy to be here. I'm lucky to have this league.
And we've now hit the point where my computer's running out of batteries, so we're going to go ahead and wrap it up now. Best of luck to everybody in their Week 9 match.
Alrighty. Glad to be back.
Everybody continue, keep on keeping on, keep grinding. We're almost at the Christmas break, only a few weeks away. I know I'm looking forward to it. We'll have everybody back.
Everyone's got to prepare properly for that Christmas break because there's 2 days where there's no games, so.
That's true.
Prepare properly.
That is accurate. Get your lineups figured out. Get it all set, and we'll see you next week.
I hope everyone had a good Thanksgiving. We'll see you soon. We'll see you next week.
See you next week on the Intent to Injure podcast.
Good night.